Oh, welcome back. It's a bit of an unusual one, actually. If you might gather, we are not on the bits of the Yorkshire coast that you would recognise. This is the Holderness Coast. This is the sort of southeast part of the Yorkshire coast. It is famous for having a really rapidly eroding set of cliffs, as you might see. They're all these sort of brown clay, and this brown clay, called a boulder clay, as you might tell from what's on the shore, is full of boulders. This boulder clay comes from the last ice ages, when giant glaciers from the ice caps came all the way down across the north of Britain and then deposited the remains of their ways down here on the coast. So this is all stuff that has been eroding out of the countryside all the way up through Scotland and being dropped down here. It does mean we get an entire diversity of fossil finds, everything from things like this, which is fossil corals, which are going to be probably Carboniferous, 300 million years in age, all the way through to sort of ice age things. We're most likely to find the ammonites and things of Jurassic age, as you find on the rest of the Yorkshire coast, but there's always a chance of something else. I am out with my wife and our little ones, first fossil hunt and the dog, so we will see what we can find, and we'll be back with you if we start finding stuff. Just a couple of little things to show off. These are all devil's toenails, as they're called, graphia, and a dog, just to help. So these are sort of oysters from the Jurassic age, tend to be found around Robinets Bay, and a lot of them on the Holderness Coast, not so much on the upper Lyre sections that I tend to hunt. And this tends to be the sort of walk that you would find on the Holderness Coast. Long strips of sand with little chunks of pebbles that you then want to focus on. It tends to get heavily picked, particularly when the sand levels are high, like they seem to be around here at the minute. I'm near the north end of the Holderness. It goes on a good 30-40 miles to the south, but it seems to be pretty heavily picked and very sandy, and so there's only a few pockets of boulders, and we will spend a lot of time looking at those, following the dug. Just a negative, so someone's obviously had one out of here, but yeah, just a bit sparse indeed. It's somewhat decent looking belemnite. Some parts of the coast you'd be a bit concerned because there are actually munitions, particularly down near Mapleton, but no, that's a belemnite. It's quite a nice one. We'll keep that. At least we've got something from Rowan's first hunt, if nothing else. And just on the rock next to it, a little bivalve shell sticking out. Not an awful lot of rocks to hit, but this one looked pretty promising, and so yeah, nice hildy in the middle of it, and little belemnite on the outside. Yeah, it was the right shape. That outermost whorl's a bit knackered, but hopefully the middle's there. Better than nothing, hey? You do get some lovely fossil corals down here. They all polish up, well, not all of them. Some of them polish up quite nicely, but I'm not going to be doing any of that, so that'll stay there. You get some nice cannonballs, although that one had nothing in it, and some more lovely corals, just to give you an idea of how big those coral polyps all are. Here's my foot for scale, so quite a good one. And as you might hear, my little man is slowly losing his cool. We might not get very long on the beach. Sad state of affairs, but we've had whales wash up on this section of coast before, and I do wonder if that's what this is, a piece of baleen whale jaw with baleen in it. That might be horrifically wrong, it might just be plant material, but it does sort of give me those vibes. An actual just lump of fossil tree trunk. I don't tend to see them in big chunks like this in 3D. I don't really want to take it, but it's kind of cool. You can see bits of houses sticking out and cliffs that are still fairly fresh and active, and there's lumps of concrete and everything, and that just gives you an idea of how fast some of these places are eroding. Whole sections have come down. In some places the World War II bunkers are on the beach. But yeah, it's a big challenge for a lot of the councils around here, is to figure out how best to protect houses and homes and things like that. But for us, whilst they are still eroding, it means that there's constantly finds coming out of the cliffs. Like this, a nice little graphia just sticking out there. But if you are here, it does mean you have to be super careful, because these big old lumps of mud do fall regularly, and we've heard a few slough off as we go. We have a very muddy dug, but another little ammonite. I think it might be a little Hildoceras actually, but I'm not sure. There's another piece of one sticking out there, and then not just one there. Nothing super spectacular, but better than nothing. One last lovely piece of Carboniferous coral, but no, I don't think we're going to find anything else. We are pretty much back at the get up point. It's not been a super long adventure out, but it's been nice to be out and nice to have the whole family out with me. Quite unusual, but hopefully as he gets a bit older, the little boy will be out with me a lot more. And if I can convince my wife to not be fed up with fossils for short periods of time, especially as our house fills up with them, she'll be out, I'm hoping to. I know this looks a little bit like teeth, but it's actually a crinoid. These are, again, Carboniferous in age, so 350-ish million years old. And unlike the ones that we get in the Jurassic around Yorkshire and on the south coast, which look a bit like stars, these ones look a bit like polo mints if you were to get them complete. It's like the little one above the teethy bits. But yeah, that's all that is. It's a series of those ossicles, as they're called, all connected together and just cut through in half. It's an ongoing joke in our house because of a board game we were playing when my hint was happiest place on earth, and my wife Eve said Whitby. It's a joke because obviously it should have been Disneyland, but it does sometimes feel like my happy place is definitely on the coast, and especially with my family. It's been lovely to get out today. We are pretty much back at our little get-up point just over there as we walk through the remains of some of the World War II bunkers. But not always a lot to find on the Holderness. Sometimes you get oodles and oodles, but as you can see with the large quantity of sand today, it was always going to be a bit of a challenge when you are relying on there being lots of rocks out. But that's how it goes. It's been nice to get out. I got a little Hildy, that nice belemnite, a really nice piece of fossil wood, and possibly, I think, what might have been an erosion at the end as well. Lovely to be out, and glad to be able to share with my family. But as always, I hope you've enjoyed the hunt, and I hope to see you all in the next one.